Hello, welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. We have another 3 stories for you today. Don't make that new order for the large Canadian. I have to account for all my time? Okay. Calling an audible. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Alright, let's get started. Our first story. Don't make that new order for the large Canadian. Yesterday I was looking for something easy for dinner, and I called the nearest pizza from a small building. I ordered a large Canadian pizza for pickup, and the person on the phone confirmed the location and my phone before telling me I could pick it up in 30 minutes. At no point was the price mentioned in this exchange. I had specifically ordered this because I was looking at the website and saw they had a large banner on their site which stated they had specific types of large pizzas for $16.99. On arrival at the Red Roof Pizza from a small building location, I went inside to pick it up. Server, that'll be $27.67. Me, I'm sorry, I thought your website mentioned this large pizza for $16.99? Server, sorry, we don't offer that price over the phone. It's online only. Me, planning my compliance, I'm sorry, you're telling me that if I call in my pizza it will almost double the cost of ordering online? Server, sorry, the details are on the poster behind you, and you can see the small print in the corner that says, online only. The details were, as promised, in very small print on a very large poster. Throughout this, she had been holding the pizza out towards me, waiting for me to take it after paying. I admit I could have been a bit more polite, but I was a bit hangry and grumpy and just wanted to eat my pizza for the advertised price. I turned abruptly away and left her with the pizza. I walked back to the waiting area and pulled out my phone, placing an order online for the same pizza I had ordered over the phone. I refused to make eye contact but watched her quizzically looking at me in my peripheral vision, all the while holding my pizza. She turned to put it down but glanced at her computer, presumably seeing the notification for the same order, under the same name, with the same cell phone number. She looked from her screen at me, where I sat looking at my phone, watching her out of the corner of my eye. I'd like to think this was our pizza standoff. Our wits duel. Our respective slices of obstinacy. After a few drawn-out seconds, she called me back up. Server, okay, you can pay for your pizza now. The total comes to $17.83. I paid the $17 in cash, and they handed me the same pizza they had been holding the whole time. The pepperoni on the pizza, icing on the cake? Was hearing them call into the kitchen just before I walked out. Don't make that new order for the large Canadian. Our next story. I have to account for all my time? Okay. So, this one isn't for work but for school and a dispute I had with an instructor who was looking for a way to shaft my GPA. I'd proven him wrong in front of witnesses and he was looking for payback. I was a student gunsmith at the Colorado School of Trades when this happened, and part of the last section of the program was working on a minimum number of customer-supplied guns, kind of like how salon colleges offer discount hair services to real customers so that the students can get some experience. I'd angered the instructor for that department by protesting when he'd given me a grade point for failing to document the size of the gas port on a gun that didn't have one, a Benelli inertia-driven shotgun, and then proved in front of witnesses that he was wrong about how the gun worked and forced him to change my grade. After that, he looked for every way he could to shaft me, and I could see his big play coming in the form of the school's very strict rules about how carefully we had to document how our time was spent, which would have allowed him to ding me for every unaccounted for minute, of which I was sure I had a few over the months. Enter malign compliance. Early on in this section, it was called Design and Function, or D&F, I had been assigned an old Arisaka rifle to clean, and the screws were seized so thoroughly that I was afraid I'd strip them out if I wrenched on them too hard, so I'd applied penetrating oil and put it in my locker, then moved on to other guns while I waited for the oil to work its magic. Once I realized what the instructor had planned for me, I simply forgot to get that gun back out of my locker, and I left it in there for months while I worked on other guns, letting it sit there until I was nearly finished with the section. Then, when I was near the end and the instructor started smirking and asking me about how well my time was accounted for, I produced this crusty beast from my locker along with a timesheet for it, on which I'd accounted for every spare minute of my time in the section that wasn't on the other sheets and claimed it was all spent on this thing, and told him I was sorry but I just couldn't get the screws out and I'd take the F on that one gun out of the 35 I'd worked on as part of the curriculum. The look on his face as he read the paperwork and realized what I'd done was pretty priceless. I think he just about tore a hole in the final grade sheet, writing that my time was in perfect order, and he didn't say another word to me the whole time I remained in school. And our last story. Calling an audible. I'm not sure how long this will work. Names change. A friend of mine who I have known for decades, James, has a son, Roy, with his ex, Lisa. Lisa has a new live-in boyfriend, David, with his own kids and one on the way. Although not blood related, Roy is my nephew. James has shared custody with Lisa as primary. Roy is 17, a year ahead in school, and a straight A student. After obtaining his driver's license, Lisa agreed he could work for me at my company. James bought Roy a used car to drive to school and work. The kid really hasn't gotten into the hangout life yet. Recently, it was brought to my and James' attention that David has been driving the car and allowing his 18-year-old son to drive it as well. This is against the agreement for the car and has been causing Roy to have to find or wait for rides to school and work. James confronted Lisa and David, which caused a huge fight and legal threats on both sides. James and Roy installed a tracker on the car after telling David that only Roy can drive the car and anyone else who takes it will be arrested as the car is still in James' name. David took the car after this and was stopped and arrested for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. David retaliated by convincing Lisa that Roy should not be able to drive the car unless they are in the car, or he is running an errand for them. In the weeks that Mom had him, the courts agreed that this was within their rights. Lisa is aware that he needs to drive while working but still won't let him use the car and has him drive the other kids to their events. So, after talking to Roy and James, we developed a plan. James took the car back. I own a rental house not too far from Lisa's. Since it is currently used for short-term rentals, I moved a car I had wrapped for my company to the house and gave the key and garage code to Roy. Roy currently picks up the car on the way to school and, after school, takes it to work. Since the car is wrapped with logos, I pay him for driving to school and school events and for dropping the car off on the way home. Now David has to fix his schedule to deal with trekking his kids back and forth while Roy can get where he needs to. Roy's happy, he can work more and no longer have to be the family's unpaid Uber. Where we live, UMV is a misdemeanor. The way it was explained to me was a step under auto theft, used for when they couldn't prove the car wasn't going to be returned. Well, that's all for this video. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.